Okay, it's time to start our midweek studies. We're going to be looking into the Proverbs yet again. Wonderful, inspired literature, giving us some insight that we should hold on to and utilize, practical application, having all these wonderful conversations in regards to the information revealed, right? That's what we want to do. And I think we will be looking into chapter 3 of Proverbs. That's what we'll do. We'll put the text up on the screen for those of you viewing the video side of the podcast. Stefan Maya here with you. AddedSouls.com is my website, and I labor alongside the East Coast Church of Christ over here on the East Coast of Canada. And you can check out the .com or the .ca, eastcoastchurchofchrist.com or .ca. It would be an honor and a privilege to have you come study along with us. We are a healthy and growing congregation, and you are always invited to be with us and come see the loving family we truly are. Okay, so we have had several sessions in our midweek studies regarding the Proverbs and looking into the various chapters and verses, and again, it tells us that we should all be wanting that insight. I mean, if only that insight was found in all departments of life, our society, of course, would be functioning much better than it is now, no doubt. If we found the insight of the Proverbs active and vibrant and flourishing within, socio-political affairs, government maybe, we'd be well, wouldn't we? From the municipal all the way to the federal, and from our community, from within the household to the community, the neighborhood, to the state, to the country. If we, as human beings, read and apply the insight of the Proverbs, things get better. Doesn't mean things get easier, but things get better in our discernment, our decisions, and we find ourselves in greater freedom, liberty, if you will. Sadly, when we withdraw ourselves, neglect and reject the insight of the Proverbs, well, it is an opportune vulnerability for chaos, disorder, riot, unrighteous division. And foolish decisions lead to, of course, greater burden and consequence. And when a society, a household to a society, is found with lack of insight and discernment, a lot of problems arise, and families get destroyed, sadly. And that is, of course, exactly what the enemy, the bad guys, want. They want to destroy the inner mind, to the household, to the family, right? To the community, the neighborhood, to the state, the province, to the country. It's within its nature to do that. Evil, right, wants to do that. Evil wants to pluck us away from the insight of the Scriptures and the insight of the Proverbs, which guide us, which command us, which instruct us. Hey, listen, when you seek for wisdom and hold on to it with every fiber of your being, hold on to wisdom with every fiber of your being, and this will benefit you and your life and your faith. And we are wise to kind of follow that pattern. I've lived long enough on this earth without the insight of the Proverbs and with the insight of the Proverbs. So I kind of have a worldview model of what both look like. And on my experimental period for decades, living a godless way, void of the insight that Proverbs reveal, making all kinds of foolish decisions. Now scarred with lifelong memories that are and damage to my body and mind, and things that you just I can't get rid of now. I can deal with it now because I've stepped into the realm of reading the Proverbs, understanding the Proverbs, and applying the Proverbs in my life. So now, I make better decisions, whether it be relationships, friendships, financial, opportunities or decisions just in every quarter of one's life and season. It's better for us if we read the Proverbs and learn the Proverbs and apply the Proverbs in our life. That's what we should do, and it should be done in all facets of human affair. Over here in the Western world, within our government, socio-political affairs, let's say, or within our academic institutions, all educational paths and faculties and policies and curriculums, right? We should have this within the realm of media and entertainment, and everywhere we should be utilizing the prudency, the insight and discernment of the Proverbs revealed. And when we did, as a societal collective unit, things were better. Things were better. They had a greater measurement of integrity and uprightness. There's always been evil and corruption. Lawlessness has been around ever since Adam and Eve chose to go against God. But we don't need to flame the fire. We don't need to amplify the threat. We don't need to say, well, since there is lawlessness, let's just permit lawlessness to continue and flourish in our society, in our community. No, we don't need to do that. The most or the greater diminishing influence we can have with lawlessness should be the path we move forward with. And the insight of the Proverbs certainly reveal that. Okay, so we're going to be putting up the text on the screen, and we're going to start reading in Proverbs chapter 3. I say good morning to all our wonderful friends starting to tune in, and your wonderful comments to which I read. Some of them I can read while they're being shared. Some of them I can only read afterwards, depending on the timeline I have with, going through the study or the material we have before us and stuff like that. But know that you are certainly appreciated. And I encourage all of you who tune in, please consider subscribing and following and liking and sharing and just engaging the material there. And please consider signing up to our various platforms and consider if we are worthy of your support. Please consider doing that. Okay, so let me open up the screen here for you and I. There we go. Look at that. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1 says, and I quote, my son, forget not my law. Okay, so we pause and we think, as we do traditionally on our sessions for these kind of studies, because we want to honey drip the information. We want to receive it. You go too fast through these things and you lose focus of it all, and then you don't know how that applies in your life. So we want to take time with this. Most certainly in our current generation, the TikTok culture, where we just don't have time for anything. Next, and we're not paying attention to anything. We have access to all kinds of educational paths. We can have and receive so much knowledge, but we don't take the time to meditate upon it and to marinate with it and to truly absorb the education. And so we fall prey to lunacy, to which we are found, sadly, in an out-of-season condition. You and I want to take the time to just learn and talk about this stuff, right? My son. So there is an endearment here to the message. It is personal. We should know it has a personal edge. Forget not my law. Forget not means you and I can forget. It's something we can forget. It's something we can neglect. And if we neglect it long enough, we will reject it. That's the function of it's mechanics, right? It's mechanical engineering. It's how it operates, if you will. If we do not continuously remember by an active agency of our thoughts, our life, if we are not purposely active in reading and learning and applying the insight of the Proverbs, we will forget its law. We will forget, and then we begin to reject. To forget, to neglect, to reject, and you and I don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We want to remember and continuously remember and cling on and cling to his law. Forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. If it's found well woven and galvanized within the thinking heart as a desperate necessity, we shall continuously live in accordance to the guidance of his law, his commandments, the insight of prudence, due diligence to its function. My son, it's personal, it's endearing. Forget not my law. That means it's possible to forget, so we should actively make sure we don't. Instead of forgetting his law, we should keep his commandments within our thinking heart. It should be prayed for. It should be read, investigated, studied, believed, and lived upon. It should be defended. We should defend his law. Not only should his law be found within our thinking heart, it should be found passionately within us. It should also, since found within us, producing an outward action, proving the evidence that we certainly are walking according to his instructions, his commandments. It is a desire we should seek to hold on to. My son, it's personal. Listen, it's possible to forget this, so you need to do something in order not to forget it. Remain active within your mind, following the commandments. Okay? Verse 2. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Well, that don't sound like a bad deal to me. That seems pretty well. That seems like something I can work with, right? I mean, the reason you want to make sure that you don't forget the law and that you live in accordance to his commandments is for a greater quality of human experience on this earth. Hey, listen, this world is fallen. It has all the hostilities one could ever imagine. We live in constant challenge to its fallen, broken ways, whether it be health deterioration, health issues, health conditions, persecution perhaps, because we stand for the truth, we live by the words of the truth. Those we love the most may turn themselves against us, betray us, slander us. Natural disasters happen. Evil people do evil things. We experience the loss of loved ones. We go through a lot in this fallen world, don't we? We go through a whole bunch of stuff. So why aggravate that? Why amplify that? Why make things worse? We don't need to. Oh, no, we don't need to? No, we don't need to. How so? What I mean, how can we not make that worse? It seems to always be getting worse because we've withdrawn ourselves from the law and the instruction, the commandments. But here's how this works. For something personal, my son, something very personal and intimate, listen, let us not forget. How do we not forget? Keep opening the book every day. Open the book every day. Read the insight of the Proverbs. Learn them. Live by them. Keep his commandments. In our midweek study here, this theme, these sessions, we are in Proverbs, but the principle applies to all books of the Scriptures, no doubt. And why would we do that? Because we would have a greater quality of life, which might add a few more days, more years to our existence on this earth. What for? Is it in vain? It shouldn't be. It should be for the greater good of His Majesty's kingdom, for the gospel. For length of days and long life and peace. You like peace? I like peace. I prefer peace. I prefer peace. I'm in my late 40s now. I prefer peace and unity and love and forgiveness and compassion. I know that's impossible with some men. Some men, it just won't happen. Just like Christ with the Pharisees of the day, or John speaking to Gaius regarding Diotrephes, and men like that, Alexander the coppersmith, and other men like that. There are some men that just don't want peace. They find pleasure in turmoil and chaos and unrighteous division and all that kind of toxic behavioral delinquency. But for you and I, we want peace. We prefer peace. How can we get more peace? Well, by not forgetting the law and to having the commandments of the scriptures in our hearts. It could be applied in our employment. You go to work, it's a difficult work. Your employer's maybe not the nicest guy, maybe, I don't know. Your coworkers, maybe they're very difficult to co-work with. Maybe you go to school, your fellow students around you, maybe the teacher. Maybe you're in a relationship, a marriage, or a relationship, a friendship. Maybe you have a neighbor in the community, challenging us. All these departments of human experience may be challenging to us, but we can actually, in practical application, apply something that would help us address these things in an upright integrity and persevere through the many moments of hostility that might come our way. And we may, of course, and we will, if we apply the commandments in our lives, discern right from wrong, and we shall indeed fellowship what is pure and innocent and what has a righteous faith. Peace. Peace. Right now in this crazy world we live in, right, there's so many who seek war. War, war, war. Death, destruction, slaughter, hate and bitterness and jealousy and greed, lions and tigers and bears, oh my. It's found out there. Oh, you can go, it's there. Choose your door. It's available to you, and many want war. Many, I think, they want war through great ignorance. They have been pampered and entitled and are quite, blind to what war really is. Some of us, perhaps, we've lived long enough to see war. Some of us, perhaps, have gone off to war. Some of us may be soldiers. Some of us may see evil face to face as police officers and law enforcement. Some judges and lawyers who see these things each day. I don't want war. You want war? I want peace. How can we extend our human timeline? How can we find ourselves in a better category or quality of life? My son. It's personal. It's intimate. Listen, don't forget the law. Keep the commandments. If you do this, as Proverbs 3:2 follows within its theme and context, reveals, for length of days and long life and peace. Now this, of course, is general rule. You can't appear before God and say, hey, it's not fair. I did what you said there, and I didn't have any length of days or long life. I didn't live in much peace. Everything around me was war. Yes, it's a general statement, meaning there's a greater opportunity that it will give you length of days, long life, and peace if you do apply. But even if you don't have a greater length of days, long life, or peace, you have still learned how to persevere through and deal with, cope with, come to terms with war, a shorter length of days, and a shorter quality of life, or a diminished quality of life. You may have been born and raised in a location or household or geographical situation where war is all around you and godlessness is around you. A lot of pain, a lot of suffering. You may have been born on the opposite situation in a very prestige, luxurious, privileged, and honored household and community. But you and I know death holds no, how should I say, what's the word here? death, disease, natural disasters. This fallen world don't really care if you have a lot of money or not. That's the whole thing. Cancer don't care if you got a lot of money in the bank or not. Now, having a lot more money may give you access to medical care that an individual in poverty might not have. Okay, yeah, granted. But what's the word? I keep seeking for the word that if you, let's say, care more for a person who has, I don't know, greater wealth than a person who's poor. What do you call that? Or you care more for a person with a certain skin pigmentation than another who has skin pigmentation you don't prefer or you don't like or whatever. There's a word for that, and I can't remember it. But God is no respecter of persons. He sees everyone equally, and we should as well. If you know the word I'm seeking for, put it down in the comments there for us, okay? So if we don't forget the law, we stick with his instructions, his commandments, in general rule, it certainly will give us greater days because you make better decisions in life. I have certainly diminished the quality or length of my life because of the decisions I made in my past life living as a godless heathen. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll may sound like a whole bunch of fun, and it is pleasurable. Sin is fun, quote-unquote fun, but it comes at a cost. And I've destroyed my body. I've destroyed my mind. And now I'm going to have to, and I have been paying the consequences to that. And maybe if I would have lived to, 100 years old, maybe I'm looking at 60 now. Who knows? God does. But that's what you have to understand with the consequences that come about from making foolish decisions. And why did I make foolish decisions? Because I chose not to follow the instructions of the insight that kept me discerning right from wrong. And you and I, we want to learn the difference between right and wrong. Don't you want to be successful in life? Like, is that such a... No, I don't want to be successful. I just want to live, in constant poverty, and I always want to be in toxic relationships, and I always want to find myself in chaos, in this perpetual circular spiral downwards. I just don't, No one, yeah, okay, you'll find someone out there saying, yeah, that's what I want, but for the normalcy of most individuals, no, we don't want that, but yet we are found in that web of destruction, and we're like, how do we get out of this? I'm constantly in anxiety, depression, discouragement. My health is gone, shot. My relationships is a mess. I've lost my employment. I can't find employment. Nothing's working in my life. And we turn around and try to blame someone else, right? The generation entitled. It's not my fault. It's someone else's fault. No, it's our fault. Individual accountability. It's my fault. The reason I have to live with night terrors and wake up screaming is because of the things I've done in my past. Okay, the decisions that I have made in my past, lacking knowledge that I should have sought. You have to live with these things now. So who's going to, the Proverbs is saying, hey, listen, I am freely extending your way knowledge that'll make you smart. It'll make you wise. It'll make you wise with your financial decisions, your career opportunities and decisions, your relationship decisions, friendship decisions. There's a market, a billion-dollar market of these financial gurus and these motivational speakers out there. They have books, they have social media platforms, and people just can't get enough of it because people they long for a better quality of life, longer days, right? And quality days about that. I don't want to live another 20 years in chaos. I want to live another 40 years of peace and love and opportunity. Well, it's right there. Where do you think these individuals who are making millions off of this go to? They read it from the principles of the Proverbs. Now, you and I, we want to utilize that for the greater good of His Majesty's kingdom, not for our own personal selfish ambitions. We want to utilize the educational of the Proverbs for His Majesty's pleasure, and He will bless us for it. It's a general rule. It may not happen for everyone to receive longer days, more years on this earth, or better quality of years on this earth and peace. That might not be applicable to everyone, but to the greater majority, it will. And again, remember what we said as we entered into this session. There will always be lawlessness. There will always be evil men doing evil things. There will always be natural disasters and diseases and sicknesses. There will always be persecution from those who hate God towards those who love God. These things are never going to be finally extinguished until, of course, the day of judgment, the end of age, the end of time. But till then, this is going to keep happening, so why amplify that? Why aggravate that? Why provoke it? When we could read the Proverbs, learn the Proverbs, and live by the Proverbs and greatly diminish lawlessness all around us. Even to the secular mind who don't believe in God or that the Bible is inspired should be wise enough to say, you know what, let's utilize this model. It will benefit us economically. It will benefit us politically. It will benefit... Yeah, okay, fine. If that's as far as you want to go with it, do that. It allows me, a believer in Jesus Christ, a greater quality of peace all around me in my society, in my community, for sure. You take an individual like, for instance, the President of the United States and his administration. Well, he might not truly believe in God, though he says he does. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. But he has understood one thing. Whether he believes in God or not, he has understood one economic model of certainty. If people do believe in God and follow Jesus and go to church on Sunday, and if they do get married and have healthy, growing relationships, male, female, husband, wife, and where the opportunity is permissible, they have children, the blessing of a child, and they work hard, the individual knows the country will heal. The country will be going towards a better direction. Now, he can know that as a godless heathen, just as much as he could know that as a true, genuine, transparent believer in Jesus Christ, to which, from what I've been able to discern, the man is not a true follower of Jesus Christ. Far from it. But he understands the principle of the Scriptures applied in his nation. And I do believe 100% he loves his country. And whether it be pure or for greed or for whatever, he does love his country. I mean, the guy took a bullet for it. So that's how powerful the Proverbs are. For length of days, a long life, peace, shall they add to thee. They what? What is they? They is the law and commandments. Law and commandments. Now, in our current dispensation of time, the Messianic age to which you and I live under, we live submissive to the 27 books of the New Testament law. Mercy, grace, the Spirit, the testament of the Christ to which he bled for. You and I, if we are seeking our dispensation of times law, we go to the 27 books of the New Testament. See, you and I, we don't go to the 39 books of the Old Testament for law. You and I no longer sacrifice idols. We don't have these priests, and we don't have these temples, and we don't have the we are no longer the physical Hebrew nation or the Israel nation. We are no longer physically under that dispensation of time or law. However, the 27 books of the New Testament law instruct us, they command us to learn the 39 books of the Old Testament, because there is a profound educational principle found therein. They speak of the Christ to come, no doubt, and they give us an insight to God's mind, his nature. There are many recorded accounts to give us all sorts of insight, so we certainly educate our thoughts, our minds, our lives to the accounts recorded in the 39 books of the Old Testament. But you and I are not commanded to be submissive to the law of the 39 books of the Old Testament. We are commanded to live by the 27 books of the New Testament. New Testament. And so in practical application to what we are reading in the Proverbs, it's wisdom literature in general rule that applies even in our current 27 books of the New Testament system. That's the beauty that is well woven from inspired literature, and we are wise to receive it. We are wise to receive it. So we go to verse 3 now. We go to verse 3. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Oh, that's important, isn't it? That's from the King James Version. On my New American Standard, it says, let me see here. Do not let kindness and truth leave you. Don't let kindness and truth leave you. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Both verses, of course, operate in unison. They are united. Kindness is not just merely being nice. It is a functional tool of utility, okay? It does something that is upright, righteous, kind, and faithful. Kind, faithful. Let not kindness, mercy kind of takes a different description, yet, of course, it complements the word kindness as well. Mercy is having the ability and power to extinguish a conversation, an individual, a situation, but yet you choose to suffer long, you choose to be patient, you choose to produce mercy. I could fire you this day for your delinquency, but because you are a new employee and you've not been here long enough to learn the ropes, as we so commonly slang, I'm not going to fire you. I'm going to give you another opportunity to learn. Pay attention to your elders here in this employment. They've been here for a long time. They'll teach you how to do this, that, and the other. It may be in the realm of your career or politics, if that is the department, or government. Again, all facets of human experience. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Truth. Truth exists, despite the attempts of a godless world to extinguish truth. Truth exists. It is real. It is an objective absolute. What is truth? Truth is reality. We can't stress this enough. It's what is true and real. And what is reality? The Word of God. John 17:17. Thy word is truth. Truth is reality. It sets us free, John 8:32. From what? From the bondage of lunacy, lawlessness, myth, and lies. It sets us free. It saves us from, it rescues us from lawlessness, fornication, adultery, homosexuality, abortion, right? Murder, lies, cheating. It takes us away from all sorts of drugs and alcohol and perversions. It takes us away from religious error and misguided religious fanaticism and extremism. The truth sets us free from everything that is lawless and foolish. Sometimes both, of course, are one. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Okay? Don't let kindness and truth leave you. Don't do that. Again, it goes back to verse 1, and we have to stick with this. It goes back to verse 1. My son, it's personal, it's intimate, it's family. Don't forget the law. If we begin to neglect the law, we will forget the law, we will reject the law, we will fight against the law, we will persecute the law. Don't do that. Stick with the law. Keep the commandments. If you do that, you will certainly hold dear to kindness and the truth. It won't depart from your mind and your lifestyle. It just won't. But if you choose to forget the law and remove yourself from his commandments, kindness will leave us, and so will the truth. And you don't need to look too far for that happening. It's all around us out here in the fallen world. So what do? Bind them about thy neck. Right? Thy neck. They must hold strong to our lifestyle. Bind them about thy neck. Tender. It's vulnerable. It could be easily taken over, but not if it is girded and closely found around us. And this is interesting, right? The Proverbs speak of the heart in verse 1. In verse 1 of chapter 3, the heart. What is, the thinking heart, the heart. What about the heart? Well, that's where the commandments of God should be found, in your heart. And here, mercy and truth should be bound around your neck. So you have the heart, you have the neck. Those are locations of vulnerability the enemy seeks to destroy you with, right? But he can't if your heart is found with God's commandments and your neck is found with kindness, mercy, and the truth. Write them upon the table of thine heart. Memorize them in your mind. Not only should they be held in your mind, they should be written in your mind, memorized in your mind. Quote them. How many Bible verses can you quote from your mind? Not sheerly for an academic exercise or for one's pride to be boastfully promoting one's ego and saying, I've memorized the whole Bible. Yeah, okay. Do you live according to even one of those verses you can quote? No, well, then you're useless. No, in accordance to true passion to learn His Word and to apply it in our lives, can we memorize His Word? Because when we find ourselves in a sticky situation, in a challenge of life, right? Then those words we've memorized and that we hold dear to our thinking heart will activate themselves. Okay, if you go, like, for instance, if you are trained in a military sense, you're a brother or sister and you're in the military, you know the language. If you're in the military, you are trained. And so when you find yourself in a situation, a hostile situation, your training activates itself in a disciplinary way, and you go about the training which saves lives and protects your brothers and sisters in the grind, in the shrubs, in the wherever you're found, right? In the trenches. So you understand when you're met with a moment. Okay, for instance, you're in line at the bank. You're in line at the bank and you just want to go have yourself a daily transaction or whatever it is you're doing. And what happens? Bad guys come in with ski masks and weapons, start shooting up in the sky. Everybody down. You're in that situation. If you are an untrained citizen of the community, you might find yourself in terror and fright. You're scared, no doubt. Everyone's scared, even those who... Okay, so everyone's scared, but the fright, the frenzy, you find yourself perhaps losing self-control. Some even losing self-control of their bodily functions. In such a frightening moment, you might die. You weren't ready for this. You were just going to the bank. I just wanted to make a transaction. Well, here's the bad guys in here. Are they murderers? Do they just want the money? Are they ready to murder for the money? Well, if an individual in there is a trained individual, he is sober-minded, he is self-controlled, he is fearful, he knows this is a situation that might not go in his favor, but he is going to begin to find a path for the extinguishing of the bad guys and a liberty for those now hostage. So he is trained to that effect. in a dire situation of hostility where the bad guys are seeking to hurt the good guys because they want to get to the money, you have yourself a good guy in there who's trained, self-controlled, though fearful like any other man or woman, but capable of controlling that fear and utilizing his training to extinguish the threat and bring the good guys or the innocent parties to safety. You understand that? We understand that model, don't we? Okay. We should. Write them upon the table of thine heart. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck. Write them upon the table of thine heart. If you are trained through the insight of the Proverbs, then you have discernment and discipline to control the situation to the best of your ability. Then when challenges come your way and hostilities come your way, you will be able to address them properly, which goes back to verse 2. It lends itself to a better quality of life and longer days on this earth. Peace. It brings about peace. You can't have peace without justice. Justice brings about peace. Or law and order and justice bring about peace. And we are wise to pay attention to that, no doubt. So we keep reading here in verse 4. Verse 4, Proverbs chapter 3. Friends, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. It's such a pleasure to have you with us. It's very encouraging to me to see all of you here with us. If you're new here, my name is Stefan Maillet. AddedSouls.com is the website. I labor alongside the East Coast Church of Christ over here on the East Coast of Canada. Check out the .com, eastcoastchurchofchrist.com or .ca. Friends, we go live from Tuesday to Friday, 9 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. Each day has its theme, and we are quite consistent with that when permissible, Lord willing. So if you seek to subscribe, follow, like, share, engage, please do so. Others out there might find value in their faith within the substance of the material provided. Verse 4 of chapter 3 here in Proverbs, it says, "So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in sight of God and man." Now, to the word I was seeking a while ago, I think it's prejudice. God doesn't show prejudice. You and I ought not show prejudice. Is that the right word? Someone define for me prejudice. Give me a comment. Tell me what does that mean, to show prejudice. Is that a good word? Is that something we should practice, prejudice? Or is that something we should not practice? This was regarding the question, of course, that bad things happen to anyone, whether you be wealthy or not. Bad things happen to you, because bad things are not prejudice, right? Could that be said? What does the word prejudice mean? Go ahead and write that down in the comment section. So the verse continues and says, "So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man." You will be approachable. Your reputation in the community will be upright. Though, of course, individuals who hate God are going to persecute you, there will be in majority an approachability for you and your life and your faith from individuals in the community. And you will have a blessing from God to that favor. "So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man." God loves all of us. The scriptures reveal that reality. God loves all of us. But those who love him back have access to his spiritual blessings. I am to love everyone around me. Okay? I am to love my neighbors, and I am even to love my enemies, the scriptures say. But only those in my household are going to have access to the fridge and to a bedroom with a nice bed with nice sheets, clothing, right? Okay, so though I love my neighbor, and I am also to love my enemy is not in my house having a meal. Though if the opportunity of kindness were to present itself, I would invite and practice hospitality on my enemy, to make an enemy no longer an enemy, but a friend. Yes, absolutely. That must be a prayed-for opportunity. But the fact is, if you are not born and raised in my household, you don't have access to the nourishment found in the fridge, or the comfort found in bedrooms, or the clothing that is available, or the... Okay, God loves everyone. He loves all of us. We are created in His image. But those who love Him back and are born again inside His congregation, His fold, the location of spiritual refuge, Christians, we have access to spiritual blessings that the world outside don't have. And that is, of course, favored and understandable. It makes sense. We show God we love Him. We follow His Son. He gives us access to spiritual blessings. The world out there, unbelievers, they don't have access to spiritual blessings. They have access to secular blessings. They certainly have access to wealth. They have access to health. They can prosper in the land of milk and honey. They can have all sorts of materialistic accumulation. They can have all sorts of prestige and luxurious positions of influence in society. They have access to all of those things. But they don't have access to the forgiveness of sins. They don't have access to prayer. They don't have access to the blessings of His Majesty's providence for the favor of the greater good of His kingdom. Now, they can enter that agreement. They can enter that commitment. They can choose to say, I want in with all these spiritual blessings found. Well, there are conditions, there are keys that God revealed we must practice in order to enter into the agreement of spiritual blessings. So we understand that. We ought to understand that. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. If, again, we activate the instructions of Proverbs chapter 3, verse 1, 2, and 3, and 4, right? Now, it can be the same for any other location of the Scriptures, but for our theme this session, this hour, this day, so shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. So let's recap here, if we can. Going back to verse 1. My son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck. Write them upon the table of thine heart, so that thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. So, if we're just looking at this and kind of wrapping it up with its practical application, number one, read, study, believe, and practice the commandments of God. Jesus Himself in the New Testament says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. Let's do that. Let's do that. They may be challenging for us. They call in us a sacrifice. We must deny ourselves, pick up the cross daily, and follow His Majesty's grace. We have to do that. It can be difficult. Yes, it calls in us a change. We have to change the way we think. It will lead to a change in our life away from the path of destruction and lawlessness and towards the heavenly realm, heavenly wealth. Yes, okay, we have to do that. First and foremost, numero uno of priority, we focus on reading, learning, investigating, studying, believing, and living the commandments of God. If we do that, right, it will have a benefit to our existence here and now and also unto the next life. It has a benefit to, in general rule, give us more time on this earth. And not only more time on this earth, a better quality of time on this earth, which, of course, we seek peace. It shall be added to us if we do that, which lends itself to verse 3. We are again instructed not to let go kindness, mercy, the truth. In the letter of Paul to the brethren in Corinth regarding love, charity, we are wise to pay attention to the verse which says, love is an active, agape, sacrificial description and practice, no doubt, but love loves the truth. That's important. Love loves the truth. And if we love the truth, we will love one another. So let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Don't withdraw yourself from that. Bind it about thy neck. Write it upon the tablet of your heart. Okay? Keep the commandments. You'll have a blessing. Keep truth and mercy and kindness. You'll have a blessing. What is the blessing? So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. So do you see the pattern? I see these things before my eyes. It's so awesome. And I'm just the common man. I'm just the common Joe, the son of a factory worker, born in the middle of nowhere. So if I can understand this, I know you can. You and I, we ain't educated all that much, but we can understand what the words say. Look at the pattern. Verse 1, do this. Verse 2, you'll receive a blessing. Verse 3, do this. Verse 4, you'll receive a blessing. You see that? It's an understandable pattern. It's found everywhere and anywhere that has decency and uprightness and honorable work. If you go find yourself an honorable career and you have an honorable employer, if you do the work, the due diligence, you work hard, you have integrity, you speak the truth, you are a man that can be trusted, you are trustworthy, you're going to go up that ladder, aren't you? You're going to receive a blessing to that effect. If you are an individual who utilizes the Proverbs to find the proper person, the candidate to marry, guess what? There's a blessing with that. If you marry the right person, a God-fearing person who has a head on her shoulders or his shoulders, you're going to be blessed with a healthy, growing marriage. If you utilize the Proverbs financially, being good stewards of your finances, taking opportunity with your finances, you will be blessed financially. It's the natural order of things. Okay? So verse 1 tells us, keep the commandments. Verse 2, you'll have a blessing if you do. Verse 3, keep mercy, kindness, and truth. Why? Verse 4, you'll have a blessing. But is it to be utilized and received in vain? No, it's not for our own selfish ambitions, though wolves in sheep's clothing utilize it for that very purpose. You and I, we want the church to grow in very precise, accurate, practical application. Why are we doing this? For me, because I want the East Coast Church of Christ to continue to be healthy and loving and growing. We rely on God, His work. He permits us to serve along with Him. And we see souls being immersed into Christ. Souls learning. All of us together in our struggles and weaknesses, our vulnerabilities, seeking to be strong through the Word of God. We move forward in Christ. It's most important. It's most important. Prejudice. Our sister Jackie says, the act or state of holding unreasonable preconceived judgments or convictions. Exactly. Thank you for sharing that. And I am most thankful for all of you engaging this session. Sin, lawlessness, it don't practice prejudice, which kind of gives us an insight on how corrupt we can become as human beings since we do practice prejudice. Even lawlessness doesn't practice prejudice because lawlessness don't care who you are, where you are. It don't matter which skin pigmentation you have, which language you speak, which geographical location you were born and raised in. It don't matter which culture or religious worldview you have. It don't matter. Lawlessness, death, comes for us all. But we can conquer death through the power of His Majesty's resurrection. We can stay away from lawlessness, sin, and its damage if we follow the Messiah, the Anointed One, the King, the Ruler, God on earth, Christ. We have to. We have to. So that brings us to the conclusion for this hour. Yes, we have only gone through 4 verses, but how much more have we received in slowly going through these 4 verses than we would have if I would have just quoted, 50 verses and not truly look into them and the words and how they apply and finding examples and illustrations. The way we function our educational sessions is so that you and I can bring it to our everyday lives. And that is most important. And it is indeed the design of the author's intent for you and I. Right? Okay, my dear friends, that will do. Next week, Lord willing, for our midweek session, we will move forward in the same chapter. I think there's some value to be found there. And the next following verses are really, really interesting to look into. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time, we have ourselves the Thursday topical trip. And we're going to be taking a look at denominationalism. That's an interesting word, denominationalism. So please, be sure to be found with us as we look into denominationalism. Does God approve of that? Does God not approve of that? What's it all about? What does it even mean? Can we describe what it truly means? Stuff like that. Stefan Maillet with you. AddedSouls.com is my website. Friends, I labor alongside the East Coast Church of Christ over here on the East Coast of Canada. Check out the .com, eastcoastchurchofchrist.com. If you are a faithful brother or sister seeking an opportunity to support, please consider supporting me and my family as we labor along with the church. You can do so through many different ways. You can send us some stars over here on Facebook or subscribe to our page. You can sign up to addedsouls.locals.com, support us there monthly. You can go to patreon.com/addedsouls. You can give us a gift through PayPal, addedsouls@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me for a physical address. It's an opportunity your way to support a good work. It helps me and my family have food, shelter, and clothing. Through His good grace, that's how we function, right? All right, man. Listen, you are loved. You are appreciated. Stay focused and stay positive. Tomorrow morning, Lord willing. Peace out.